and welcome to our Wrench Army stream. This is our secret project that we've been working on, which of course started with a regular light bulb, and that is turning this light bulb into a plasma globe. And of course, we started with a much more regular light bulb, which is not even under my chair because I was like, that light bulb was like lame in comparison to this one. Actually, he's hiding out here. So we were able to send a bunch of like high voltage through this light bulb and get it, to stream just like a plasma bulb. But then we got an upgrade. So this is super exciting. So it is going to be kind of the, the star of the show for our lamp. So those of you kind of like joining in the project midway, we used a ignition coil to provide our high voltage power. And then we came up with this 555 timer circuit. And you can see my little, my wobbly heat shield here. I got to tighten him back up. But it's a real simple circuit that we put together. We tested, we tuned it with this potentiometer for maximum streamers on this. So now all we have to do is do the same for this light bulb. But another funky thing that we also discovered is that this whole like frequency messes with not really the cameras or the audio, but what it does mess with is the iPad switcher. So all of a sudden, everything started going haywire. Different scenes started to come up until we figured out what had happened. So for this light bulb, we may have to swap out the potentiometer or the capacitor to get it streaming. But we're going to do that after the castle is done and we do kind of the final tune on this big bad boy. But we have it here for scale, and because it's just so awesome. So I'm going to put this aside for now. And today's objective, you guys can kind of see where we got last week, and then I took it a little bit further myself. This is our wizard's castle. So we decided that we were going to do a wizard's tower, and the orb is going to be like up here, this big old plasma ball, and somehow a dragon is going to be attached to this castle as if he wants the orb. And then we're going to have another floating tower here with a wizard on it. And there's going to be an epic battle with fire and smoke. So yeah, that's what we're kind of working towards. And of course, this being like the main star of the show. This is like the opening act. And this is like, the main act. And of course, we have Dave Beck already joining us early. And Frozen Mustache. Everybody's waving. So I'm going to wave back to you. And Dave Beck is saying, is there dancing at this ball? And I said, yeah, always. There's always dancing at this ball. So before I got like way too carried away with our Wizard's Tower. Oh, and for those of you guys joining, this is kind of a mashup of what we're trying to do. So I love the Wizard's Tower on the right. I think those little huts are really cool. I haven't done something like that yet with like the stucco look. I love the windows. I love the hat at the top. It looks like a wizard's hat, but for us, we're going to stick with a classic rook type of shape with some kind of stone claw. It's not going to look like a claw, but you know what I mean, kind of like holding our light bulb in place. This is going to allow us to detach the light bulb in case anything ever happens. We have to replace it, something goes wrong. It makes it easy to do that. So I didn't want to put any type of like decorative elements over the ball where, then we're kind of stuck with what we got, And so you can see we kind of got started last time. We built our first hut here, our little hut. And instead of another hut, we decided to use this stick right here, and this stick is like far too long, but the idea is that we're gonna have an invisible stick, although it's totally visible right now, but it's invisible. We're going to decorate it, to make it invisible, and this is going to attach to another 2-inch PVC pipe. So it's going to look like this tower is floating. So because there's a wizard there, he's going to get the tower to float. Unlike a lot of these examples where the picture on the center has the tower jutting out of the main tower, but then it's kind of held up by rocks. So maybe we can do some like vines or some roots to make it look like it's floating in midair. And one of you, I think it was Dave, had the idea that perhaps rather than using this kind of stick idea, we can use a small acrylic rod that just holds it up, and that might be invisible enough to kind of fool the eye. So to do it both ways and see which way we like it the best. And of course, you guys will will chime in and let me know. The idea with this stick, though, was to make it look like a dilapidated bridge, kind of like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, where they have to run across that bridge and it's all just really rickety. So we could do a lot of visual things, so that way this doesn't look like straight. We can add a lot of rock and create kind of a U shape with our bridge, and then similarly here. So it kind of helps disguise the fact that this is straight. And obviously this is too long. The tower would be somewhere here. So we're just really trying to disguise a very small run of this. So I don't know, between me and you guys, I think we can do it. So that's one idea, or bagging this and using the acrylic rod and putting it in our base. So I figured I get carried away with this stuff all the time, and I start adding the stone and all the details, and then I'm like, oh, but I want to add some like lighting and some cool things to it, and then it becomes a beast to do, like a nightmare, because you're trying not to ruin what you've already put together to do your lighting. So I figured, let's stop the engines and do that today. Do that first, so that way I can continue stoning the wall. And you can see as far as I got here, one of the cool things I like about these towers here is that if you look at them, the bases are big and they ever so slightly taper up at the top, and that gives it a very organic, natural look versus what I got going on, which is clearly like this chick covered PVC pipe and foam. That's clearly what this is. So yeah, we don't want it to look like that. We want people to wonder how this was put together. And so what I started doing is, for the base, I took my foam core board that we used for the Frankenstein castle, my dollar. So I'm still going through my dollar's worth of board. I have $2 more worth, and I started to wrap them around. So this is 2 inches right here. And so this starts to create like our big fat chunky base, which we're gonna cover in rocks. So then that gives us plenty of width to start ever so slightly tapering those rocks all the way till we get to the top. And so I think that'll work. I did 3 layers, which I think is enough. I don't think we need a 4th layer. Maybe we do. But then the idea is I went ahead and cut a whole bunch of these. Take them, look how thin that is, and that helps us to create from these fatter rocks here all the way up to the top of the tower. These little shallow rocks is going to help create that taper that we're looking for. Hopefully. I mean, that's my plan. And so I varied them. You'll see some of them are longer. Some of them are shorter, like this little short stubby guy. Some of them are kind of triangular shape. And the hope is to get them to look, kind of all thrown together, something like a wizard would put together. This is not like an organized, very royal castle built thing. I want our tower to look very organic, kind of like these towers look. The one on the right does look a little bit more put together stonework wise. I really like the stonework on the one in the middle, where you can really see the gaps between the stones. The stones are smaller, so I might take my stones and make them, thinner. So the objective is to take the castle on the right, all the elements of the huts, the wood boarding, I really like that. And then on the top, for where the windows are, I'd like to take the design from the one in the middle. I kind of like those archways coming out. Also, it allows us to make this top portion a little bit fatter in order to fit our ball, because it is quite a bit fatter than our tube. So we do need some kind of arch situation right here to connect the two. So that is the strategy. But before we add all this foam work, I figure we might as well add our interior lighting to this. And then Frozen Mustache said, "We lost you. Oh no." And probably, I see that. Let me refresh. But we have a thunderstorm rolling in, so that could affect things. And I thought I heard it kind of go away, but maybe it's still back. But program 311811 says, "Barely back, had to refresh the stream." And Frozen Mustache has confirmed you are back now. And program is saying, "I'm finally able to catch a stream." Oh, that's nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here, and hopefully the stream has come back, and we won't go down again. But yes, there was a thunderstorm rolling through. So what I did for this, one of the requests I've gotten from some of you guys is doing lighting that doesn't involve like Arduino boards or programming or, anything like that. Is there a simple way to do lighting? And there's a couple simple ways. Number one, you can always use tea lights to light your foam miniatures. You can use the tea light as is, and put it in a place where you can operate it easily. You can also break apart your tea light and extend the light bulb connected to that little circuit board, provide power, and do it that way. But then you end up with like a whole bunch of like little circuit boards. So the way I like to do it, if I don't want to use Arduino, I don't, want to do anything, are these flickering LEDs. And it's nice to hear a couple of you said that things died, but then it came back. So even Dave Beck is saying YouTube died too, but you are back. So that's awesome. All right, so glad to know that I am back. And then Frozen Mustache is confirming that he had a storm there too. So wherever he is, there was also a storm. So yeah, I think it's supposed to continue for the rest of the night. So hopefully it's not too violent, After all, this is an awesome project, so it should appreciate our wizards and dragons and things, because that also involves like stormy skies and things like that. So anyways, based on your guys' requests, I thought I'm like, I can throw this request into this project and find a way to light this very simply. And because the lighting scheme is just amber, flickering light, and fire effects, well, you can just buy little LEDs like this that come with a flickering functionality. And I'll give you guys a closer look. With this one, these packages came with a resistor already, and this is a 470 ohm resistor, and I went ahead and pre-wired the resistor onto our positive lead. Now the resistor can go on either lead, it does not matter. I heard thunder, it's still here. I'm gonna hustle, let's hustle this project. And so what I did was, for continuity, if I decide to put the resistor on the positive, I do it for all the LEDs, just so I don't mix myself up. Or if you decide to do it on the negative, that's fine too. Just make sure to do it to all of them. So the longer lead is generally your positive lead. So I went ahead and put a bunch of little LED and resistor sets together. I think I did about 10. We can always do more if we want to, and figure out where we want to put these things. Make sure we run long enough wires, because if we look at this, and I'll switch you guys over. And a Frozen our program is saying weather interferences, streamer life. Ain't that the truth, right? Like, that's something you can't really plan. And then yeah, you just can't. And then I've had power outages happen right before I hit to go live. And then we go on a little bit later. So it's happened. So with these, I definitely want to make sure that we pre-wire, because after this is all gorgeous and things, it's going to be really hard to access things. And so I was looking in here, to wire things and to fix anything. We definitely want the wires to kind of come out and be long so we can do that, because I don't know that I can even get my arm, in here. This is a 3-inch PVC. I could fish things through here. Heck yeah, look at that. I can wear a 3-inch PVC bracelet, although I can't bend my arm now. But, good for future reference. 3-inch PVC pipe, I can work with that. Yeah, we'll do projects now only in 3-inch PVC pipe. Dave Beck is saying the ones I got from Amazon have the resistor and colored leads. Wow, fancy pants. He's got the good ones. Oh, mine are boring now by comparison. He's got the colored leads. Mine are just, boring leads. So program is saying, ooh, it's gonna be dope. Yep, so the idea here is, and of course, this is, you guys chime in, and I incorporate as many ideas as you guys, come up with, within reason. I haven't put in, $20,000 lasers coming out of here, although that would be cool. So the first thing we kind of have to grapple with is this light bulb. We definitely want the light bulb to be changeable, which check, done, easy enough. We're gonna build our castle with kind of like a claw rook situation, but have plenty of access for the light bulb to be able to remove it, change it out if something happens with our plasma bulb. So that part is easy. So then I figured, okay, we need to wire it. So check out this contraption that I put together. I thought it easiest to use a lamp base so we can screw in and screw out our light bulb. And the screw bases come with this one open and this one is closed. It's covered with a piece of plastic. I went ahead and took a drill to it and I got that done, and I decided to use the inner ones for the specific reason of this will allow us, if it ever comes off, there we go. We're going to attach our high voltage out of our ignition coil here onto one of these screws. And it really doesn't matter which one for this project. There's no negative, positive for the plasma bulb, situation. So we're going to, stick this here, and this is going to then go down into our lamp. And I don't know if you guys can hear all that thunder. It's really loud. So we're going to basically attach it. It's going to live down here. And the nice thing is that we have enough slack that we can hide this a little further away, because we want to try and insulate this from the where it's attached, because we don't want any arcing, we don't want any corona, voltage loss, anything like that. We're going to try and prevent that. But say all of a sudden this stops working and our 555 timer is working, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the lamp. How am I then going to even access this thing to make sure that this wire hasn't come loose? And if it comes loose, how am I even going to get back up in there? So I'm trying to pre-think this stuff, which is something I rarely do. And then I end up having to, figure out how to fix it later. So one idea I had is maybe coming up with some kind of screw top situation where we can remove this, see the situation, and correct the situation here if we have to, and have enough slack to do so. So I'm going to show you guys a top view of one of the issues we very quickly figured out. And I'm just going to back you up just a tiny bit so it focuses better. So using these outer holes right here, as comes standard with these things, well, there's nothing to really screw into. See how it hits the PVC pipe? There's no real good way to center it. But I found that using the internal ones, well, look at that. That totally can screw in. And so then I made this little platform for it using the screws that comes with this kit. I figured we can glue this platform. We're going to have to fix that. We can glue this platform down. The hole is big enough to access this. And this allows us to screw in, and then you twist to set it in place. And that's that. And of course, the wood will be screwed in here because we're going to have decor elements right here touching this wood, anchoring to the wood. But I definitely want this top part to be movable. So I found, heck, let's use this as it is intended to be used, which is very rare for us. We usually change the functionality of stuff. That'll allow me to twist this off, twist in the wrong way, pull it off, and see, something comes loose, and then I can fix it and then twist it back on. Lamp is back in operation. So this is as far as I got with my thinking. So the only thing now that you can tell this is as far as I got with my thinking is that I measured the distance between these two screws, and they fit perfectly inside our PVC. So why is this happening? Well, because there's something else that I kind of didn't take into account, which is, look, that little washer. That little washer is hitting. So one of the first things we're going to do is just kind of carve a notch to allow that little washer to sit in the notch, allowing this to be perfectly, flush. And then we can go ahead and super glue, or not super glue, but hot glue gun our base onto there. And then that'll keep everything as is. So as you can see too, we have plenty of wire here. So that's really going to help put this in a separate box, or of course we're going to build a base. This will be a little bit higher, and so this part of the wiring, I think we got this. So then we have to hide this 555 timer situation in here, or probably underneath here somehow. And so what I think I'm going to do over the weekend, and this will be a fun little weekend project, is transfer this timer situation onto this little PCB board right there. And I mean, it's pretty small. I think I can get it in there. And instead of a red LED, I'm going to use a little, maybe 3mm white one. And all that there is there to do is just to tell us that this circuit is working. If we see it off, then we know something's not getting power here. And this is super important because this is what gives the streamers to our light bulb. Simply hooking a light bulb to high voltage power is not going to give you streamers. You have to fine tune the frequency of your coil to that, you have to fine tune your high voltage to the frequency of the coil. And that's what the 555 timer is there for. You want to get them in resonance. And that's when you start getting all those streamers. So the weekend project will be transferring all this onto this little board. And voila, if you look, little board, this is about to fall on the ground. Little board fits in here perfectly. I can either kind of like lay him like that on a piece of Velcro or hot glue, probably Velcro, so I can snap them off and see what's going on. Or it can lay in our base. Once we kind of make a rocky base for this thing, a lot of this stuff can lay in our base. But I kind of want to separate the 555 timer circuit from our high voltage ignition coil. So I think the ignition coil is definitely going to live outside of our tower somehow, in some kind of like little globular mountain type of situation, and insulating him really well. So that's kind of the plan for the circuit board and the ignition coil. Now we have to figure out our fire effects and our lighting, because clearly we have so many really cool looking windows here. I mean, we do want them to flicker and glow. We have a hut, we gotta light that hut, and inside this hut is a hole in order to have access, and same thing with this hut. And that's why I didn't put the roofs on them just yet. Let's get the lights in there first, then we can roof it up. And then we also have to light up our door, our window, and so let's figure all that out. But first, let's see if we can maybe get this sitting just a little bit better, because what we may end up doing is gluing some LEDs up here in order to shine through these windows. So let's take a look at these LEDs. Now with these LEDs here, they take 6 to 12 volts. That means that at 6 volts, they're gonna be more dim, and at 12 volts, they're going to be more their full brightness. But of course, that also has to do with the resistor. You can also vary the dimness or the brightness by what resistor you use. And so Dave Beck is saying he heard the thunder, and he's ready to chase it. Oh, he's got an awesome storm chasing truck. Hop on Discord and check it out. He's done a lot of work to it. It looks very, very cool. I love seeing your guys' project on Discord. It gives me ideas and inspirations that I borrow from. Borrow. So I'm going to bring you guys in closer so we can see if we can get these things to glow and see what they'll look like. So I have kind of a 6 volts going on here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use my little switcher here. So I have a power supply, which is pretty cool because you can vary the voltage. Like it's set to 12 volts right now. And so I can just switch it down to 6. It's great for testing stuff. So you're not having to run out and get like different batteries, different battery packs. You can just do a very quick test with this, not have to worry about it. So I set it to 6 volts, which is the minimum. Let's see how dim these things are when you put the minimum amount of power. So I'm just going to plug it into this barrel jack here that I'm going to borrow from the rest of our circuitry. And let me bring you guys in. There we go. And I am just going to touch positive to positive, negative to negative. And let's see what the situation is here. If I could ever get everything touching. Normally it's like we don't want them touching. but this time we're getting them touching. And that's pretty nice. I mean, that's not all that dim. And see how it flickers all on its own, and we don't have to worry about coding, programming, or anything. And let's see if we swap that to 12 volts and see what happens. So I'm just gonna like turn the dial up, which is its maximum voltage. There we go, now it's on 12, and let's see if it's all that much brighter. And of course, if you string a bunch of these together, you know, each of them sucking voltage, you might need to use a little bit more voltage. Yeah, you know what? That is actually pretty bright. That's really nice. So one of the things that we have to think about as well is power considerations. So I was thinking of running our ignition coil off of my laptop charger, which is 19 volts, and it's got plenty of amps to run everything. So the idea is I'm going to be sending 19 volts through the system. These take 6 to 12. Now we have quite a few of them, all right? So everyone's kind of like, drinking from the same cup here of voltage. And our 555 timer system can take anywhere from 5 to 15 volts. Now for our test, we were just using a 9-volt battery, but it would be kind of be nice to just be able to like flip a switch and everything goes on, wouldn't it? I think so. So I can, the safest thing to do is just to use 12 volts because everybody accepts 12 volts. That's what we tested our ignition coil with, although 19 looks way cooler with the streamers. But if you think about it, you got the 555 timer eating voltage, you have all these LEDs eating voltage, and this, it might not be enough. So we might be safe using a 19 volt for everything and not fry stuff. Because my other idea was using a buck converter to convert down for the items that need 12 and, do it that way, or maybe a, buck converter for the 555 timer that needs between 5 and 15. But we may not have to do that because we're putting, a decent amount of stuff on the same circuit. So that's where I'm asking you guys your opinion. Should I buck convert or just go with the 19 volts for everything? So based on your guys' experience and stuff. So we see how these guys work. And I figure let's start wiring from top to bottom in terms of this. And so the obvious places are, of course, the top. And I'm thinking I can put 4 LEDs to illuminate this top tower right here. Then 2 LEDs to illuminate our, our little hut here. And then 1 LED for the smaller hut, and 1 and 1. So how many is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for our window, 9 for our door. So that's 9 LEDs. But picture this all covered in stone. And there is a battle going on between a dragon and a wizard. I would think we need some scorch marks and some fire coming out of our tower. And so we could definitely add a couple LEDs here against the walls. And then what we can do later is after we foam, I'll show you how to do very cool smoke effects. Not using our mini fog machine or anything like that, although that would be pretty cool. But if you want to do this for your tabletop gaming or any of your miniatures, is using pull apart foam. Almost like cotton balls that you use. It's polyfill, and you can pull it apart until it's very stringy, and then just dust it a little bit with black spray paint, and then you put an LED and it looks like burning embers and things. So we can definitely have some of those details on the blank sides of the castle, where I'm going to cover this in stone. Then I'm going to remove some stone with a tweezer. It makes it look all crumbly and things. And there we can put an LED to represent the fire, which we will then cover up with the actual fire effect. So, take a look around. We do have a lot of, bare space around here, but that's kind of on purpose. This is where the dragon is going to sit. But I figure let's start from the top. And I'm thinking one of the ways we should probably do this is maybe do the 4 at the top, almost like a chandelier. Maybe kind of hook them up like, and then bend them kind of like that. Like a chandelier. I think it looks like a pile of poop, but you know what I mean. And then wire down from there. So I think that's what we should do. Now, one of my biggest pet peeves is when you can see wire and actual LED bulbs inside from the windows. Ugh, I don't like that. So I always try and put the LED bulb either like in the part above or this part below here where it hides the actual bulb, but you still get the brightness of the lights. But there's something we can't hide, and that is this cord going down. Like, we're just gonna see that through the windows. So I had an idea of this time trying frosted glass. Oh yeah, I have some old CD cases that I think will be pretty cool to try some frosted glass, and we can sand down the, the plastic, cut them into little pieces, and actually make like old castle windows out of them. So Dave Beck is saying he likes the chandelier idea. I'm gonna warm up our soldering iron here to attempt a chandelier idea. Now, I am trying to get rid of some of this kind of the more flimsy hookup wire. Like, I love this for small projects, but once you get like through the red and the black, then these extra colors, don't they just like hang around forever and you gotta find something to do with them? So for whatever reason, I do have a decent amount of black, but for our power, let's just use one of these colors. And then what, I know it's not red, but what I can do is also put like a sticky label at the bottom of the lamp, just kind of like as a reminder, like, hey, power's blue, and ground is black the way we're used to. And as long as we wire all of the lights this way, then we'll always know to look for the blue, yellow, or whatever wire for the power. Because we're dealing with wizards, I'm kind of leaning towards using blue for power. And then that's another easy way to remember that that's power. And so the idea is we're going to tie all the positives together and tie all the negatives together. So we only have two inputs coming out of our lamp to wire to the actual power source. And I think that's going to make our lives ton easier than trying to wire 10 different inputs at the very end and creating a giant ball of wiring, which, listen, I'm good at that. I can do that if you guys want me to. So I think first things first, let's create our chandelier shape and start to, I don't know, like wire or, solder it together. And then figure out a way how we're going to glue it up in here. Are we going to glue it to the sides, or are we going to glue it to our wooden base that we have up here? We might actually do that. Let's see here how this will look, and I'll get your guys' opinion here. And let me back you out a little bit. So, in typical Rachel fashion, I always leave these leads crazy long. So we can do something like this. And let me just bend all these similarly. And this guy, like this. And 4 might be kind of bright, but I'm kind of over brighting than under brighting because I learned with the Frankenstein castle, I only put one LED. And of course this is from a strip, so the lighting is a little bit different. But it was a little too weak in my opinion. I wish I had put more LEDs inside the castle. So I shan't make the same mistake. This is kind of like my hideous, chandelier. So we'll tie, I'm holding all the positives in my hand, and we'll tie all of them together, via solder, and put this thing kind of in the middle like this. And we'll have frosted glass, so it's okay if we see light bulbs and things like that. And even if we do, it's kind of like, there's a chandelier in there. And this, then, we can maybe hot glue to the top of our wooden base. So let's actually get that situated because that's rocking back and forth. A little rock and roll going on here. So all I'm going to do is grab my Sharpie, which is somewhere, and let's mark where that is. So I'm going to like sneak up on you guys. That's kind of like here. And you know what? I'm going to situate one in the other because it rocks too much to mark one and then try to mark the other. I'm going to mark it in the wrong spot. So I am just going to drill a little divot where that black mark is. And if any of you guys have ever drilled PVC pipe, it makes a huge mess, like huge. So while this is heating up, we can take advantage and go ahead and just drill up our, you know, our little divots there. And I'm just gonna plug this in, and I'm gonna switch out this tip right here with something else. Let's see what we got rocking here. And whoop. So I found when I was making windows and things like that, that these pink stones work really, really well. And look at this little round one right here. I think that'll be perfect for creating just a little bit of a divot. So you, sir, are the winner tonight. And let me switch him off. And this white stuff, like it gets everywhere. Luckily, we're only making some small divots, so hopefully it won't make that much of a mess. But it's worse than wood. I swear, PVC, like drilling into that is worse than wood when you start to dremeling, I guess I should say. Drilling is also messy, but the Dremel is worse. So let me prepare myself and put this on, because I learned the hard way. You know, the plastic is sometimes worse than wood. Ugh. So let's divot away. Oh, and I'm fogging up. We're gonna do this blind. And let's see, where are you, divot? Here you are. Let's see if I can give you guys a much better view, like that, and move some of this stuff out of the way. There we go. And so I got this divot, and I'm just gonna make like a, you know, like that. With that sound effect, you'll see it sounds exactly like that. Let's see if our wood sits in there a little bit better. Now we're getting nice and flush. So we're going to repeat on the other side. Now that I have this kind of situated, I'm going to mark the other side where we need to, and you guys can probably see that shine right where the thing is. So I'm actually going to cheat and turn it towards me. And program is saying, yeah, PPP up. Yeah. The first time I did this a while back, you know, I thought it's PVC, it's heavy. It's not going to like come at you. It's a heavier material. It's all over you. It's the worst. See, my sound effect was pretty on. That might be better. I'm going to clean this one out a little bit more. All right. Hopefully now that should sit in the little notches, theoretically. And yeah, no more rocking, except, you know, just me rocking the whole thing. So that actually kind of also helps hold it, so you can do that, but it's not sturdy enough. So we definitely want to glue. Am I locking it or unlocking it? Let's unlock it. There we go. So we definitely want to glue this down, because that'll allow us to glue like our little chandelier situation inside here, and put a little glue on the rim here, and then situate him, and then we'll start trying to do our chandelier. And I might actually be able to, I don't know, I wonder if I can reach down here. I don't know. We'll see. This one's going to probably be the toughest part, figuring out this chandelier situation. So I don't think we'll need this anymore. And let's see. And again, you guys got ideas. You better start spilling your beans. Don't sit there holding them all to yourself. I am like an experienced idea thief. I will steal that idea from you. All right. And so Dave is saying, I just bought more wire. The pro tip is buy red and black by themselves. Yeah, then buy any other color in smaller amounts by themselves. It's true. When you first get started, I started buying you just buy all the kits and stuff and you quickly learn. There's just certain colors you don't really use. And so I have the separate, red and black, which I want to reserve for later on in this, in this project. I'm going to save them. Sometimes what I'll do is start the project with higher gauge wire, meaning thinner wire, because it's a lot easier to bend and work with, especially in tight corners. This is a lower gauge, meaning thicker wire. So this is a 22 and this is an 18. So this one definitely doesn't bend as easily as this one. This one's like spaghetti. And so then once I combine all of those wires, then I go into a lower gauge wire, meaning a fatter wire, and that fatter wire goes directly to the power source. So I'm going to reserve these guys for that at the 18 gauge, and we're going to start with the 22 gauge, which is your typical like hookup wire gauge, really soft and malleable, easy to work with. So let's get this stuff out of the way because I always dump it, and then you're chasing all of your Dremel pieces. It's like, where are they? So for this, we'll stick with the wizard blue, but yes, Dave is indeed right. So if you're watching and you haven't gotten into electronics that much, kits are great. Buy the resistor kits, the potentiometer kits, the capacitor kits, so you have all kinds for all different projects. But wire, it's really like red and black, and then buy the tiny ones for the color wire. So yes, that's definitely the way to go. So let's see. I'm going to need about this much, but before we color it, this should be hot enough. Let's try and make a chandelier and figure out how we're going to make this chandelier. So I have a couple of my bent pieces right here, and I'll bring you guys in, and let me position this in a way where you guys can see everything. I'm going to get rid of our ignition coil for now. And I'm just going to put this guy here and remove this annoying thing. There we go. That way the camera's not like, what the heck is that? So we have our lights on. It is probably all heated up and good. Got this guy and got my fine leopard print solder overspill there. So he can just hang out there. And let me put this guy away or else I'll start soldering everything together. So let's see here. I got a couple bent guys, and these are like our chandeliers. So let's figure out a way. Maybe we can kind of do them all together. That'd be kind of neat. That way we don't have to solder each one. We can like tie them all together and do one, solder. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to try and come up with some kind of chandelier shape of some sort. Let's see. And also keeping in mind that we have a big old hole. So it's not like we can attach this thing to the hole. We definitely have to attach this to the side, almost like this. So we may actually have to wire this stuff because we have a big old, coming down the middle is going to be our high voltage wire. So we don't want all this stuff kind of hanging out together. So maybe it could be that this is going to, let's see, I don't want it right on the window. So I'm going to put this to the inside like that. And maybe we wire all the negatives together and the negatives will go down like that. I don't know, I kind of liked our, let me tie these together here for a second. Kind of liked our chandelier idea. That was looking kind of cool if you ask me. And then that guy And then that guy. Yes, I think what we can do is do kind of a long wire and attach it here. I think I got an idea. So let's tie these guys into a somewhat chandelier situation. So we got that guy, making little L shapes, and I'm starting my L prior to the resistor, so that way they don't stick out as much. So I'm gonna try and match this L shape on 3 others. Right, and then I'm gonna start twisting these resistors together. This is going to be our positive. So as long as like we're only twisting the lead with the resistors, then we know that we're putting all the positives together. So here's 2 things of our chandelier. Let's continue our little resistor chandelier here and get a nice bend before the... I'm kind of actually glad that I left the leads long. I was about to cut them and I'm like, wait a minute, because I don't quite know what I'm gonna do yet. So let's just wait on that. And we'll be sure to remember to heat shrink this. So that's a third. All right, guys, like, I think I can go into business as a chandelier maker. Get that. And now we're gonna do one more. I think 4, because these are so bright, I think we'll be good with 4 for this. And we just twist our 4th guy here. The chandelier is looking a little wonky, this side of the chandelier. So we got kind of like one bum arm. Kurt Benning is here. Hey there. Thanks for joining. We are lighting up our wizard's tower. Yeah, I was looking for the word. The plasma ball we built, we made a wizard lamp out of it, and now we are wiring it up with some interior lighting. So this is my chandelier, everybody. Behold. And let's see how that looks kind of in here. So that's going to sit kind of there. Not bad, guys. I think I'd rather do a full old-timey bend chandelier. You know, the old ones that you have, like grandma has, that has this type of bend and it's gold. Oh my gosh, we should paint this gold. But, you know, you're not going to even be able to see it through the window. But in our minds, we'll be thinking grandma chandelier. Grandma wizard chandelier. Hey, grandmas are wizards. Their cookies are like magical. So one would only think that, yes, grandma chandelier. So, all right, guys, that's a nice looking chandelier, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be putting frosted glass in our windows here. So you're not going to really be able to see the exact shape. You're just going to see the flickering. So that's going to hang something like this. So let's wire a nice long power wire out of here, which we decided blue for power because wizards, that's why. And I'm going to make this extra long. And so I'm figuring that it's going to come from our chandelier here. It's going to somehow hot glue to our base, our immovable base here. And then it's going to come down and somehow go into our power source. So I'm just going to make this kind of about this long. And then the black might be a little bit different because we have these leads coming here. And we'll figure out, you know, how to wire that. So let me grab my cutters up here. There we go. All right, it kind of sounds like that storm has rolled past. I haven't heard it in a while, so hopefully it's rolled right on past us. It's like, leave us alone. Let us do this cool wizard project. So I'm going to cut this a little bit long. And let's get our chandelier on. Because once we get this all lit up, meaning, you know, tacked in place with glue, then we can be a little more rough and do our stonework and not have to worry about, you know, damaging things later. So I have learned from experience to get some of this simpler wiring out of the way. And it seems simple, but it's not. So all I've done here is wrapped this wire around, you know, our chandelier mess here. And let's now solder all of this together. And then remind me, guys, slip on a heat shrink on through this other end, and then we'll heat shrink it all together. So I'm gonna bring back in our soldering iron here, and let me put my eyeballs on for this one. So this is a pretty good idea, this chandelier idea. I think Dave said he liked the chandelier idea. So let's get this guy kind of, you know, obviously it'd be nice if you guys can see what the heck is going on. And maybe I'll just grab this LED here. And it's a little in my way, but that's okay. So I'm just kind of gonna go in here with some solder. And there's my solder. And here, my little, you know, leopard print overspill. I had got it freshly cleaned for you guys. And let me just zap on my fan here. Oh, it would help if I plug him in. He doesn't run on Wi-Fi power, that's for sure. So let's make him run on real power there. All right. Now I'm getting that breeze. All right, and here we go. I'll let that heat up. Probably doesn't help that I have the fan like right on it. All right. So we have our little wire chandelier there, all soldered up. And then let's put a heat shrink before I forget to put the heat shrink on it. So let me grab from my collection of heat shrinks right here. Let's find something that'll do. And let's see. I'm thinking that might be too short. I keep all the remnants that I cut too. Like, you know, these are remnants of other much longer cuts. I think that'll be well. That way material goes a long way here. So we're just gonna put him. And just so I don't have to keep like changing sockets or anything, I'm gonna put all the heat shrink, and then we'll heat shrink everything together all at once at the end. Maybe I selected the wrong size. Something a little bit, I was a little too ambitious there. So I have this, oh, this guy right here. He's kind of pre-cut for the job. We'll just use him. He was just sitting there staring at me. So I'm like, fine, I'm giving you a job. I don't know if you guys ever growing up, I always learned very quickly not to just stand around the kitchen or stand around near my mom or dad, because they very quickly will give you a job. They, you know, if they just see you standing around. So make yourself look busy. So that heat shrink did not make himself look busy enough. I'm like, help me cook, help me, you know, peel the potatoes and stuff. So that's his fault. And then program is, oh, Dave Beck is saying too skinny tube. Yes. Oh, and he gave me the heat shrink reminder. So good. I didn't need it that time, but trust me, it's coming. I'm going to need it. So I'm going to come back to this heat shrink, and we'll just kind of heat shrink everything at the same time. And now let's come up with a strategy. We got to unite all these negatives together now, and doing it in a way that doesn't, you know, look too crazy. So I'm just going to move a couple things like this light bulb and this light bulb, so they don't get damaged. Our precious globes, the thing that the dragons are fighting for. So we have this, which, you know, if you really think about it, you know, he'll be kind of sitting here. We can kind of glue him to the side here. I can just tack a little bit of glue right there and he can hang like a real chandelier, and our high voltage wire will kind of go past it. Now we just need to come up with a strategy for the negatives. And so this will come down maybe even the side of the PVC, and we can hook up all these negatives, and maybe it can come down with the high voltage wire, or we can also loop it and tack a little glue and then have it come down also with the LED, which is I think what I'm gonna do, so they kind of come out together and the high voltage can kind of stay separate. So I can pull this with a high voltage and not interfere with the chandelier. So the program is saying, oh yeah, 100% choose when to tell the parentals when you're bored. Yeah. Yeah, they know and they put you to work. So always look like, you know, you're super busy. So let's see if there's a way. There's no real way to kind of bunch them and connect them with the leads yet. So we're probably gonna have to put some short wires on them and then connect them in a bunch and then send one wire down. So let's attempt that. And so we'll stick with boring black for ground, but you know, boring wire colors are the best because there's the ones that you remember. You know, if you get too creative, sometimes it's a little tough later on to figure out what's going on. So I'm just gonna crimp this guy and let's start trying to figure out like how we're gonna do this. And I can even like maybe bring you guys in a little bit, bring you in on the action. I shouldn't be having all the fun. And so let's try and figure out how long we, you know, I'm sure the better for me. If we can just keep all this kind of short. So that's that. And this is going to be hanging. And so I would like this to somehow join here. So maybe, unless we made it like really short. Ooh, I have an idea. So that's our chandelier. We can unite these and then send them back with the positive, tack them both to the top, and then they both come down. So I think I'm liking that idea. Yes, I'm thinking I'm liking that idea. So I'm just trying to figure out how long to make, because remember, we need to connect all of these, and so somehow they need to all be one. So I think I'm going to cut this a little long, like this. And I'm going to undo it, and I'm going to cut a bunch of lengths just like this, a little bit longer. And then we can always shorten them if we want. And Frozen Mustache, oh my gosh, he was reading my mind. He said, follow the blue wire up the middle. And that is exactly what we did. Oh yeah, mind reader. We got a couple of you on this stream, couple of mind readers. So how many do I have? 4. So I'm going to cut 4 of these. Then we'll unite them all and they'll go as one up and out the back. And I was going to hot glue that, you know, the wood, but I'm going to hold off on that just yet. Let's get the chandelier situation situated, and then we'll hot glue. Because that wood will have to be in place for us to get our stonework just right. And I got one more. So I still want to hear your guys' opinion on, we're running 9 volts into this thing, and all the power consumption of all this stuff. Should I run it as is, you know, and everyone will share the 19 without problems, or should I buck convert? Or like my sister and I used to say, Bueller. Right, one more. We're getting our sassy chandelier done. our wizard's chandelier with the grandma shape. All right, so now I will officially do this. And I think I'm going to solder them before bending them up into the middle. I'm going to solder them as is, like spiking out like this, because I think I'll have better access. And then we'll bend them to the top. And not forget our heat shrink. And program is saying, do you think you'll ever do a violin project? That would be cool. Like, what kind of violin project can we do? Like, should we build our own violin or build some kind of different kind of violin? Or by violin project, do you mean like another song, you know, like a music project? Probably. Because I haven't done one in a while. And I keep saying I want to do one and then I don't do one. So yes. So Frozen Mustache is chiming in. His opinion is we should convert down to 12 volts. That's probably the safe thing to do. I think I'm like that song, take it to the limit one more time, you know, because that's all the time you'll get. You'll do it one time and then fry everything, you know. So that might be a good idea. 19 might be a little ambitious for everything. Let me put that where you guys can actually see it. So where am I? Oh, there I am. There's so many octopus legs coming out. I'm like, where is it? All right, so that is one. And we repeat it 3 more times. Put that out of the way, just so you guys can see. And I'll do this guy here. All right, so Dave Beck is also saying buck convert. All right, I was being too ambitious there, but I know you guys are right. That's the thing. You know, when you know somebody's right and you're like, oh, but you know they're right. So we will buck convert. If it's 19 volts, the 555 timer takes 5 to 15, so that's already lower. And then each of these LEDs takes 6 to 12. So I might need to, no, just one buck converter, because we can do 12 for the LED, so we have maximum brightness, and that 12 will still be enough for the 555 timer. So that'll probably work. Hello? Oh, you guys might want to see what the heck is going on, this disaster here. Gotta find which octopus leg is the one. They all start looking the same after a while. All right. Not too eventful. I'm liking this. It wasn't like some of the LED soldering, the LED strip soldering. Some of that was a little challenging with the contacts being so tiny. And a program is saying either he was thinking of a build through right now. And that's good. Someone is thinking ahead. Someone's got to think ahead, because I usually don't. All right. We are like rocking through this octopus chandelier. And we got one more. Is that it, or did we get all of them? Yep, nope, just one more. And we'll bend them. And not forget our heat shrink. Actually, we'll put our heat shrink tubing first while they're kind of straight. Makes our life a little bit easier. And then after we put these in, I definitely want to light the thing. I want to see how it looks like. It'll probably look cool. But we get all this kind of tacked in so that way we don't have to fight the castle later. Because the accessing these, I should say, is going to be a little tougher when all the foam goes up. All right. So now we got our octopus and our nice little, our little chandelier here is looking pretty good. So the objective now is to somehow get this all tied up, and Frozen Mustache had the good idea that we're going to loop them around and it's going to come up through the middle with this wire, which I think is great. So let's put little heat shrinks on all those, and then once we're done tying all these guys together and getting them all happy, then we can bust out the heat shrink gun and then finally heat shrink all this stuff together. So let's see here. Hopefully I don't go too small this time. And we'll just do this guy. Whoop. Tower almost went. So this guy is kind of like this big. Let's put you in here. Hopefully I've chosen the right width. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. There we go. And then we'll start bending all of you guys. These are way brighter than the LED strip ones. Well, the LED strip ones are also like 5 volts, and we didn't set them at full brightness, just to kind of have just a little bit of ambiance, if you will. Oh, I'm running low on this size, but I have plenty for this project, which is nice. So we are good. Oh, program is throwing out the violin ideas. I want to hear this. Like, seriously, because I think that would be kind of cool. So many violin things to make. Drink coasters, light switch fixtures. Ooh, that's pretty, a light switch fixture. Let's see here. Car seat covers, currently on a lamp, could do a violin lamp. And of course, go all out and try actually make a violin. Yeah, that would be tough. I've seen a lot of people make guitars, but a violin. We might also try and make a MIDI violin. So that way the acoustics don't matter as much, but we can make like a Tektronix MIDI style violin. I've seen guys make violins on fire, like you play and your bow actually will be on fire. I've always wanted to try and figure out, they have a propane tank as like a backpack, and that's how they do it. And I'm like, ooh, that would be very cool to try. All right, so let's get this spaghetti octopus bent the way it's supposed to be bent. And this guy will kind of go up through the middle. Just like that. So he'll look, well, it looks pretty good. And I'm wondering, where do we start making our cuts to join everybody? Should we join everybody first? And then, ooh, that's kind of tough to send that up the middle. So let's send everybody up the middle first. Kind of like that. And then we'll cut them. Those are great ideas. So if you haven't joined Discord already, program, hop on there and post those. I'll have to read through the chat again, and be like, what timestamp were we on? We were in the, the hour mark, and look for that comment. There are some cool violins, some cool instrumental things that we can do. But a violin would be cool, and then we play it. All right. So I didn't butcher the lamp too much. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So now we have to start getting these guys all wound together. So sometimes I'll do this sequentially so you don't end up with one giant ball at the end. So basically what I'll do is I'll strip, let me think about this before I do it. Hold on. I'll take one. I take one basically, and I strip, like I really strip it. And then I'll tie one, and then I'll tie the other, and then I'll tie the other. So that way you get one continuous one after the other versus all of them bound together. And that tends to make it a little thinner. So let me pick a victim, you know, something like this. And basically I strip the whole thing. And so I start kind of on this end and start little by little like this. It's really tough to try and like strip a ton off at the same time. So I'll just kind of do, you know, hoping not to get, you know, you definitely don't want to like butcher your strands because that definitely affects your power delivery. So for 4, I probably have overdone it by now, but something like that. So on Discord, there's a few of us. It's like a small but mighty group on there, and I'm there pretty much every night. And so I'm gonna curl this, and so see, this is a big old one, and we're gonna start with the first one, and I'm probably going to cut him here. All right, which one did I just cut? Oh, right here. He's right here. And then I'm going to get him. Now the trick is figuring out the whole heat shrink situation. But so I'm starting with my shortest one, and I'm gonna put it on the base of this like that. And they're all gonna tap into this big long one. Like that. Now I'm going to move on to the next one, which will be the next victim. We'll make you the next victim. So that one stopped off kind of right there. So I want to cut this in a way that it's there and then maybe to there. So we'll cut him here. And then I will strip. See, the other one kind of finishes right there. So I'm going to strip from here on out because I don't want to bunch them, you know, so I'm trying to go sequentially as best I can. You know, sometimes you don't have a choice. So I'm going to start this guy over here. And oftentimes what I will do is sequentialize the heat shrink as well. You know, I'll make sure to slip in a heat shrink here and there. But I think we can heat shrink this entire thing together. It seems like it's it's going to be skinny enough. All right, because we only have one more. Yeah, one more. And then it's gonna go like that. Where's this one more? Here he is. All right. So I stopped off here, which means I want to cut here. And this is just my way of doing it. I'm sure like you guys may have better ways or, you know, other ways. And bunching it is really no problem. You can bunch it. There's no like wrong, you know. But sometimes when you're trying to keep it like neat, flowing, it also doesn't bend as well when you bunch it too much. So this makes it a little bit easier to bend. And you can see that I have severely overstripped this wire. That's a lot. We're gonna take care of that. But here we have our chandelier, and like your guys' idea, here's all of our lights. It's kind of tough to see with all this hot mess going on. But we do have our lights, and then we have our power wire here, and then we have all of our grounds tied together, also coming up here. So now we're going to make an equally lengthed thing here, and I'm going to cut a nice piece of black, and we are going to get rid of some of this horsehair situation length here. But let's see, and don't forget the heat shrink. Let's not forget the heat shrink. There we go. And I'm just gonna cut it here. And program is agreeing. He hates those bulges when you're doing wiring. Yeah, they're not wrong, but you know, they're kind of depending on what you're wiring, and you know, and if you have to get it to fit in a certain thing. So let's get rid of some of this horsehair right here. This is a pony hair. It's nice and wavy. The worst is when you mistake and you cut too short and you're like, no. And so here I'm just gonna do ye old crisscross, and we're gonna try and stick a heat shrink on this thing. Now the nice thing with this project is that we don't have to worry about water or moisture or anything like that. So if there's a tiny gap in the heat shrink, I think we'll be okay for this particular one. But anything outdoors or automotive wiring, yeah, I definitely like a heat shrink and get every nook and cranny and cut that heat shrink a little longer to make sure it really hugs down on the wire. So now we're going to attempt to mush this together like that and get a heat shrink over it. I think we'll be okay. Let's see, I'm gonna guesstimate a size. You know, this guy might be kind of big, but this guy might be kind of small. You know what? He might work. Let's do a test run before we commit to him. Oh, fail. Back away. So we're definitely going to go with this guy. And I'm going to cut him to about here. All right, we got a couple horse hairs, but everybody's in nice and tight. And there we go. All the horse hairs. Nice, guys. Look at that. Nice and, you know, decently clean. And then we only have 2 wires coming out of our chandelier, and that's that. So let's get this thing heat shrinked up. I'm going to plug in my heat gun. Get all my tools at the bottom of this table here. Alrighty. So he is done. I got ahead of myself. Dave is right. He said solder the negatives. Here I am like, oh guys, we're done. And did I solder this? I did. Oh, I got ahead of myself. I was like, oh, look guys, I'm not missing the heat shrink. Ha ha. I win. No, I lose. I lose big time. All right, let's put this back in and get that done. Dave caught me. It should have occurred to me when I'm putting in, I'm like, oh, look at all the horse hairs. There we go, getting ahead. Luckily, the heat shrink didn't do its thing yet. So let's see if I can get this kind of put, there we go. Let's see if we can creatively get this soldered up. I'm just gonna let this do its thing. Yeah, good catch. Program's right. Dave's watching, which is good. Somebody's got to be watching because look what was about to happen. You know, and this is a high voltage project, so think of the disasters that can happen. So let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more LEDs, and I think those will be pretty easy. This was the hardest, the chandelier situation. So Let's see. Get you done. I guess I'll start over here. I probably should have done one after the other, you know, like as I did it, instead of trying to do it all at once now, but such is life. Because I don't want to undo this now. Also, when the balls get like really big, the wire bulges, it takes like way more forever for the iron to get it going. Oh, let me give it another go. Oh, it's probably not even heated up enough yet. I just plugged it in, so being a little overly ambitious with it. All right, where is my... Oh, here it is. Might be a little more ready. We're ready to tango now. Yep. It needed a moment. All right, now somehow I got to maybe flip this around and try and get all up in here. I'm gonna stand up for this. Kind of get it from behind. Gotta get it from all angles sometimes. But good catch. Am I even getting it? I may not even be quite on it. Let's try again. Let me get in a little closer. Hopefully not get my head in your guys' way. Ooh. Let me move this out of the way. Let me get it from down here. There. That's better contact. I think it was floating in the air. And I was like, guys, am I getting it? Am I getting it? And I like putting the iron on the bottom and allowing the solder or solder to seep through or wick through, so you can still see the strands. So all right, now we can move on to heat shrink. I had such heat shrink on the brain that I forgot probably the most important part of the whole thing, which is the solder. All right, let me put its pants back on. Thankfully, I soldered the other negatives first. I decided to, you know, I had the wherewithal to do that. All right. Let's see. Oh, here's my... heat gun. Let's give it some heat gun action. And programming saying, I definitely think it's not all heat shrink, but I've used heat shrink before when I used a lighter. Oh yeah, I was also some resin that oozed out, more moisture control. I thought that it was so awesome. Yeah. Alrighty. Now it'll probably be a little bit big on this side because this is such a thin wire. But because we're not in crazy conditions, a little gap on this side I don't think will be too bad. And Dave Beck makes a good point. The temperature dial on this particular heat gun, or not really heat gun, iron, a soldering pen, if you will, there's a dial. The problem is that the dial sits right where your hand sits. So oftentimes your own hand will turn the dial down and you're like, why isn't this working? And then you check the dial and it's set really low. So I constantly have to check it. So let's see. Now we can probably figure out, I'll put this guy in here, kind of see what's going on. So, well, that's a chandelier. That's looking pretty good. We're going to put our little chandelier here. We're going to tack this rope to our little wooden panel here. And this will allow this to go all the way down. and come out the side, come out the back. Now, here's another question for all you guys. So we have the top part taken care of, and that's going to be our chandelier. But we still have other lighting situations that we have to take care of. So one thing I can do is kind of have each of these guys their own thing and then group it at the very end, and we can just kind of bundle everything, you know, but try and scatter it the way I did so it's not so bundled. I think it'll be easier than trying to splice within the tube or splice it outside and try and guesstimate where everything is going to be and then lay it out all at once, because one bad length and then we're going to have to like do it over. So I think we'll lay everything individually and then splice at the end after it comes out of the tower. I think might be the best way to do it. But if you guys have other ideas, chime in, because yeah, you guys have rescued this project quite a few times just this stream. So I'm listening. So I'm gonna prep the next one and we'll glue everything all at the end, I think, just in case we change our mind or we have to move something around, you know, and then makes it a little bit tougher. So I'm gonna put our chandelier aside. He's done. And let's work on the lights for the hut right here, since I guess, or this little guy here, since he's the next highest thing up. We got him, then he's the next highest. So he's gonna get one light, and we got this one already bent into place. And so I am just gonna stick my hand in the hole right there. So here's our little hut, and if you look, I made a clever little hole here for our LED to come out of, and then we can just use a little bit of hot glue inside the hut to hold him together. So if he's here, let's kind of pre-measure out some wire there, because I think if we can run the wires such that they hug the inside and they're not dangling in the middle, like our chandelier will dangle in the middle, but once we tack the wire to the wood, we can run it such it hugs the wall. And so if we can get all of these LEDs to hug the inner wall such that the main high power line goes right down the middle, that way there's less touching. It's still kind of a tough area, but there's going to be a lot less touching that way. So that's my initial strategy. Not that it's going to work out, that way in the end. But let's see here. This is probably a little bit easier this way. Let me grab some white and some black at the same time and butt up their ends. It's almost like sewing, but so much cooler. Like that's, soldering. It's just sewing, but so much cooler. So this guy will be in this hut. So he'll have something like this, and we'll leave this like nice and long, and then we can, adjust it. So something like this will be more than enough. And Dave Beck is saying less cooties is better. So that is my professional term for bridging, so you don't want them to touch. No cooties, no cooties. So, yes, we're going to lessen the cuties. So let's get this guy wired and soldered up and soldered. Now, wouldn't that be nice to be able to do both? It's like, which hole is it going in? I don't know. Nope. Where'd it go? I had already pre-bent the chandelier, so... Guys, I think we're going to get this pretty wired up. Then we don't have to worry about it later. All right, this is pretty long, this lead. Kind of obnoxious, but it's given us good luck. So I think I'm going to leave it long. All right, and I'll do this one, and then we can solder them together. And tuck in those horsehairs. this where you guys can see it. Wouldn't that be nice? There we go. And so I'm going to try and attack this and this at the same time. And no, I'm not, because this is not even plugged in. So we have a 15 amp situation here in the shop, you know, so hence why I keep plugging and unplugging and all that kind of stuff. And Kurt is saying, and the Lord God said, let there be light, and there was light indeed. That's what we're doing with our wizard, but we don't know how long the light is going to last, because, you know, the dragon is coming. So next week, now that this is all lit up, I'm going to go ahead and stone a lot of the castle, and we're going to start on our dragon armature. Since you guys have already seen the Frankenstein castle and kind of how stone works there, how to work with foam and things. I was going to fast forward. I'm just talking while this heats up. And actually, while that heats up, I might as well wrap up some of these others. And so the idea is that since you guys have seen a lot of that stuff, I was going to just fast forward that on my own and then work on the dragon armature. And so what that is we're going to actually attempt to sculpt our own dragon around this castle made of clay. Now, we're not going to sculpt this out of a solid block of clay. Instead, we're going to make a wire skeleton for it, which is the armature, and then wrap foil or paper towel to kind of create the framework for the muscles. And then you put the clay on top of that. And so we're going to attempt this dragon, you know, armature situation and see if I can really sculpt a clay dragon. I don't know, guys. I might be able to. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But worst case scenario, say this dragon looks like a big piece of poop. Then we can make one out of foam because we've gotten pretty comfortable working with foam. And if that even looks like a worse piece of poop, then we can always buy a dragon. Just buy a nice model dragon and put him on the castle and then add lighting effects to him, add fire effects, which is what we're going to do. He's going to be breathing fire towards the wizard. And then the wizard is going to be blasting his blue energy at the dragon. So we're going to attempt to get that all, like, you know, figured out using regular special effects, but not like CG, like, you know, practical special effects. So let's see if this is done. And you can see here for the larger hut in preparation, we're going to have 2 LEDs. So I went ahead and already prepared that by winding together our resistors there, which I know is the positive. And I'm just leaving all the leads long. It's been good luck, so I'm just gonna leave them long. So program is saying, sick. I think the dragon's gonna work out. I think so too. I'm like having high hopes for this. You know, it's gonna be my first clay, you know, but if we can sculpt foam, how big of a jump is it? You know, I don't know if anyone watching sculpts clay, they'll be like, honey, it's a giant jump. You're gonna get your butt handed to you, you know, and that's okay. I like a good butt handing once in a while. You know, it keeps us learning, because if you never get a good butt handing, then you just stop trying stuff, you know, and I, for one, those of you that have been watching a while, you know I love to face plant, so I look forward to it. It means you're learning something new. When you stop face planting, then you're not really doing anything of, you know, I don't want to say importance, because, you know, many small things are actually quite important, but just growing, I guess I should say. You know you've stopped growing. So we're going to keep growing. We're going to get big and tall and shop in the big and tall with all the mad skills we're going to grow into. So we have our little singular hut. So we can put that guy aside. And we're going to hot glue everything together at the end. Oh, and let me just prep his heat shrink. We're not going to heat shrink him up just yet, only because, you know, I don't want to keep having to plug and unplug, you know, but help remind me. Let's see, do I have any heat shrink, like victims around? No, I don't. So let's open up another one here. Sometimes you have some leftover guys. And let's see if I can, maybe I might be able to cut this one in two. It's kind of like that. And then that guy. It's kind of long. There we go. So yes, Dave Beck and Frozen Mustache saying yes, they concur with the face planting. Learn from your mistakes. And Dave Beck is saying falling is learning. Indeed. I think too many people are afraid to fall. It's like, put the extra knee pads on. Wrap that pillow around your butt. That's what I did when I was learning to ice skate or learning to skate and I was scared to fall down. I took, you know, my mom's big old pillow and a belt and I wrapped that thing around my tush. You better believe it. And I wasn't very afraid of falling after that. Oh, I got a spike here. Let's get him put away. And I did solder these, right? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. All right, now I'm all paranoid now. All right, so he's soldered and heat shrunk. That's for our small hut. I'm putting him aside along with our chandelier. So this is the completed pile. And here is this chandelier right here. And let's get him kind of measured. Yes, we should probably get him measured. So let's see. So this is going to be for this hut right here. And this chandelier is going to be sitting right about there. And let's see. Blue and... we're staying consistent. All right, something like this. And then he'll kind of come out the bottom and we'll make it, you know, a little bit long. So we can always cut it later. And I always keep wire remnants. Oh my gosh, for prototyping, I keep all the little remnants because they if you solder the little ends, especially if you can get it real thin, you can just stick them right into the breadboard sometimes. So, you know, or just wrap things around real quick. So let's see, I got my two and let's get them soldered up and give you guys a much better view of what I'm doing. Let me bring you into the action, bring you in. I'm gonna move this tower over here and let's see. So we got two negatives that we have to, we can probably tie these guys together. Unlike the chandelier, which was a little bit trickier. So let's see if we can actually bend these in a way where I can tie these two negatives together. That way we don't have to do another bundle, another bushel of wiring. Yeah, there we go. And then, hold on a second here. What the heck is going on? I'm winding it the wrong way. All right, nice. So yeah, we'll have to be sure to heat shrink those so we don't get any cooties, as I say, any bridging or shorting. So we can go ahead and let's get this positive one done. And these particular resistors that came with it, the leads on them are very, very thin, you know, so they're very easy to bend. But they're fine for this, just for these lights. All right, so we got the positive, and let's get these two negatives. This was not possible to do with our chandelier. I wish it was. Makes life a ton easier. I'm gonna twist my horse hairs together. And I'm just going to take the end of this, which is the non-cutty, and just kind of crimp it together. There we go. Sometimes those ends, I like to stay apart. So now we can get this thing soldered up. There, I can do a two for one. But unfortunately not 50% off, like one, buy one, get one 50% off. This is just a 2-for-1. All right, I'll do this. Since you are closest to me, you're the child that looks bored. I'm giving you a job. That's what happens when you're just sitting there looking at me. All right, Now I'm just going to move this guy a little bit further. And same thing. Oop, a little tougher to see back here. And just make sure to get our... Oop, I ended up with a glop. Or globular. Let's spread around the glop. There, it looks a little less gloppy. And just so I don't forget, let me get that heat shrink on there now. Let's see, it's still got the right size. The two smallest sizes are all mixed up in the bag. So I gotta unmix them later. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit tougher, but I think we can do it. All right, so this black one, this one might be too skinny for the negatives because they're a little bit funky. No, will you take me to Funky Town? No, they're liking Funky Town. I don't think we have very many more. We don't really have any that are bunches anymore. So we're getting to be done, people. Yes. Well, that's nice. That's another one. We'll take our heat gun and do it all together. So what else do we have on this thing? Now I think we got a whole bunch of singles. We have a window here, and then we have our little front door here. But actually, he's going to have a wooden door. There's going to be no light, coming from him. Now, the one thing, I think this would be super cool. This would be super cool. So check this out. The tower, all the way on the right, if you look above the entrance hut down here, where the two planks kind of go into nothingness, you got to jump off like a springboard, but heck, he's a wizard. He can float. If you look above, there's some kind of bust, like a man head bust or something like that. So we can carve something similar, but I thought it would be cool to put those old-timey castle fire torches, and we can make fire using a hot glue gun, and I can show you guys how to make some cool, like, fire shapes just using hot glue. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to make a torch, of some sort. So we could kind of plan an LED for the torch situation there. I might as well pre-plan one just in case we decide to add torches and fire effects. But you guys can see kind of how this is coming along. And as I stone it, what I'll do is drill holes anywhere I think I want to add fire effects or smoke effects and pop an LED exactly the way we're doing here. But I figured if we get all the windows done, that's the toughest because that's the wire that really needs to hug the inside of our thing there, our tube. So we have just the window to do, and yes, I have a couple more LEDs to spare, so we're good. I went ahead and wired a whole bunch of them. And then Dave is saying, with flickering LEDs, sweet. Yes, indeed, we are going to, the whole thing is going to flicker. So I'm super curious to see how this flickering is going to compare to the flickering of our castle. And some of the Arduino flickering we've done. One thing I thought is if you buy all the same LEDs from the same pack and you turn them all at the same time, will they flicker the same frequency or pattern all at the same time? It would be nice if they flicker different. So that's one question I don't know. This is the first time I'm using self-flickering LEDs. So I'm just seeing here how high this window is. And that's about this high. And we're going to, use a little bit there. And then we're going to hot glue. We're going to heat shrink and then hot glue everything all together. And that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Then I will stone everything to death. But yeah, like I was saying, I know a lot of you guys have watched the Frankenstein castle. If you didn't, it's up for you guys because you're members. You can just go and it's up, so you can watch that and on YouTube or on the website. And you can see some of the stone techniques that we use there. It's going to be a little different, but similar, like, you know, cutting out rocks and texturing rocks and things like that. So it's up to you guys whether or not you want to see more of that on here. Like I was saying, I was just going to fast forward all that so we can get to the dragon armature, which is something that none of us, well, maybe you guys have seen, you know, from other people, but I haven't seen my own self do it. So I'm quite curious to get that started. And then program is saying, finding it slightly therapeutic watching you wire. Progress well, no music, just your voice, tool shop sounds. Yes, I've been thinking about adding music to these streams. You know, quietly in the background, nothing like crazy nutty where I'm like screaming over it, you know, or anything like that. So yeah, it's something I've thought about. I'm still thinking about. I might do a test one. I usually test stuff out on you guys and see whether you like it or not, because I know you guys will be honest about it and be like, that blows. Please don't do that to us. That was awful. And then I'm like, in turn, I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I won't. Sorry about that. But yes, sometimes the videos online, the weirdest videos sometimes are soothing. You know, sometimes just watching someone clean something and I'm like, why am I'm enjoying this way too much, you know? But it is. And especially like when you're so close to the weekend, it's like you're beginning to get your jam on and the excitement is building, and it's like, if I can put this one in the rear view mirror, as I say, you know, for projects, you want to put this part of the project in the rear view mirror, it's kind of nice. All right, so I think I'm going to switch them. I'm going to do that. There we go. Sometimes I cut one too short, but you can salvage yourself. So there we go. Putting this guy. And this is our last. I didn't. Hopefully Dave didn't see that. You know, maybe he went to go get some water or something. Yeah, we'll see. I was about to do it again. Oh, gee. Program is saying, I love restoration vids. Oh, me too. They have some great, and the name escapes me, but there are some very good ones on YouTube that is just a time lapse. And it's a time lapse of something being restored. Those are the best. Because you always learn, like, even like when they're fast forwarding it, you do learn like little tidbits here and there. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to steal that little tidbit. Especially when it comes to cleaning certain things, because you can actually damage your piece, especially very antique or collectibles and things. By doing certain cleaning processes, you can actually devalue the piece. You know, I'm like, oh no. So it's kind of neat to see the different ways that these guys clean rust and restore different things. It's very cool. So yes, I do love the restoration videos. All right, now we can put the shrink tubing. L shrinks. All right. Get this guy out of the way. And have you guys fly a little higher. Fly high like an eagle. I got all the songs tonight. That's why, see, maybe I should add some songs to this stream. Obviously, I can't do anything, you know, copywritten, or else they mute me. And then the video will be more like, you know, which some would argue is better. I've gotten those comments as well. But all right, so we have everything soldered and heat shrunk. Because that's the past tense of heat shrink is heat shrunk. So let's heat shrink it for real and then start hot gluing it to our castle tube. And then this will pretty much be ready for stoning. And as I stone, if I find like cool little spots where I want to add some fire, I'll drill a hole, wash, rinse, repeat of what you just saw, and run some more wires. And here I'm going to hold off just a moment until I put the roof on here, and then I'll be able to see where I can put that torch, because I think that would be kind of cool to do like a big fire torch here with hot glue. So that I'm going to hold off on, see how big I want to make this this roof. So I think we're done with the soldering iron, so I can unplug that and close that, and I'm going to start firing up our what's the name of this thing? Hot glue. Words are tough today. Hot glue gun is being fired up, and let me fire up the There we go. The heat gun. All right. There we go. Whoop. I like watching these things shrink. There we go. Looks nice little stripes going on. That's one. There we go. Sometimes you gotta look closely. You're like, oh, that one's definitely not done. He's a little bit loosey-goosey. Get you up there near the noggin. Program, words my use. Indeed, oh my gosh, it's the worst sometimes. Like you see the item in your head and you're like, why can I not even think of what this dumb thing is called? I don't think I got the top portion of this guy here at all. There we go. He's looking at me like, you forgot me. You care more about them than you do me. I'm like, mm-hmm. That is straight up true. All right, I'm gonna unplug you. Conserve my 15 amps in here. And then Frozen Mustache is a great invention for wires. Yeah. All right, so I think I can move this out of the way and let me bring the hot glue gun a little bit closer and figure out how to give you guys a decent view of this. All right. Somehow this will get glued on here, but first we're going to put our chandelier on here. And remember, while wiring it to the final source, like our high voltage line right here, that's going to go here, and he's going to have enough slack, so he's going to be about this level right here. And I'm going to move him closer so you guys can see him. So he's going to be here. He's going to plug into the light bulb. He's going to travel down the center of the column, and he'll be somewhere like here, but with enough slack such that I can, well, you know, this will be on here as well, such that I can unscrew this, open it, and this will still be connected, and I can make whatever, you know, repairs. So this piece of wood will never move. Once we hot glue the chandelier to it, you know, we don't have to worry about pulling up on our LED wiring or anything like that. This will be like on there for real. Only this part will be removable. And I kind of, you know, very rarely do I do this, but kind of planned it out just because I know that these screw terminal types right here, and in case you guys haven't seen like a close-up view of this thing, these screw terminals, I mean, no matter how tight I tighten them, especially something where the wire is going to be hanging from it, we're going to try and relieve the stress somehow and maybe dab a bit of hot glue to hold this big old cable somehow so it's not all hanging from this screw. But yeah, I find that these screw terminals, if there's too much weight or pull on it, it tends to kind of undo itself. So I wanted a way to be able to unscrew this and check and see if that's happened, if our whole light bulb system stops working. Let's see. Now we can probably do this. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let me put in another stick. There we go. And I got a couple more pre-wired with their with the resistors, and by pre-wired I mean I pre-wired them, you know, before we started, so in case I want to add a couple more fire effects. And then I bought a bag of 100 of these things, and these are all the yellow ones. They do make red flickering, blue flickering, which I don't know, I maybe should have got some for the wizard, like a, you know, but it's tough, you know, you buy a bag and it's like 100 of them. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do a lot of projects for that. So this is almost ready to go here. So yeah, that's a lot of projects, but heck, we can do it. We can do it. So once I get this glued onto here, theoretically, I could probably glue this guy on down, but I'm gonna hold off on that just in case I need, for right now, access to try and, you know, stick things in here, and then we'll glue it down last. All right, so it looks like once the glue starts like oozing out, I think we're ready. Yeah. So let's see here, and let's see, maybe something like this, and I will see if I can back you on out as much as I can. There we go. And my head might get kind of cut off, but you know, we got the most important part of the project right here, which is this guy. So I'm going to move him here. And now the idea is how low can you go? How low do we want this? And I'm going to try and get our chandelier a little more straightened out. Make Grandma proud. Here we go. So maybe something like that. Because if we go too low, you know what? But if we go too low, you won't even be able to see the chandelier, which might be a good thing because you don't get those like LEDs in your face and all the black wiring and stuff. That might be kind of nice to go low, slightly lower than, because then it'll illuminate up. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's just my pet peeve of having like an LED bulb like right up in the window like that, because then nothing screams like modern LED in an old castle like when you can actually see the bulb. It's kind of nice when you watch a movie, you don't actually ever see the candle, but you see the candle light coming through. So yes, I think I'm going to do that. And so that means right about this point is where I need to glue. Let me get this guy situated. Oh, there we go. So, and there he is. So I think I want to bring him up. Which means I want to glue him right there. All right, I held it. I held it where I want it, which is easy to remember. It's pretty much where this black here is. So we're just going to take it and move it in the middle here, not to interfere with these guys. And let's dab that glue. Tack it down. Oh, nothing's coming out. Come on. Let me push the glue up in there. Needs to get just a little bit hotter. And that'll give me the opportunity to bring you guys in close into the action. Oh, and program is reminding me, but the frosted glass. Yes, the frosted glass will help. That's going to hide our obnoxious like LED bulb type of situation. So yes. Which also reminds me, I should probably not at this moment glue this portion down, because I can access the windows from the bottom, but that's going to be kind of tough. So I think I need to glue in the frosted glass first and then glue this guy down. I think that's the way to do it, people. I'm just holding this until this kind of starts turning a little bit opaque, and then you know it's pretty good. All right, so I think I caught myself. I was about to make another boo-boo. So I would like to frost all this stuff. And the way, those of you that are, joined a little bit late, the way I'm going to do it is I have all these old CD cases. So I'm going to take the cover art out of it. They're all like in books anyways, and now everything's digital. I don't know what to do with these CDs. I don't know, you guys, if you guys have an idea. Should I keep them or get rid of them? But anyways, I got a whole bunch of CD cases. So I'm thinking I can cut with an X-Acto knife. It doesn't have to be, a arched shape. I'm just going to cut rectangles, and I'm going to glue it to the inside here. But with the CD cases, I'm pretty sure I could take like a Scotch-Brite pad or very mild sandpaper and scuff it to make it all matte looking, like a frosted glass. That'll help diffuse the light of our LED. So I'll just cut little, because this is round, so I can't really cut a giant pane, but I'll cut little rectangles for each of the windows here. And these are pretty easy because these are just rectangular panes, and I'll just frost all of the windows, and that does help disguise the LEDs. So Frozen Mustache has reminded me of the idea I even talked about, you know, at the early part of the stream, but already forgot about it. All right, so here is our chandelier, and I'm going to put the wires inside, and I'm not going to glue this this wood quite yet because it's much easier to, you know, put the frost in that way than having to stick my whole hand up the bottom and doing it that way. I'm sure it doesn't appreciate me having to shove my hand up at the bottom. But that's looking pretty good there, and I can probably tack, if I hold this down. I'm wondering, yeah, I can probably tack this all, once they all come out, I'll tack them all to the side. And I might be able to do it through like a window access, just by putting a piece of wax paper on my finger and putting the hot glue, sticking the finger in the window, and then pressing up against the wires and then tacking them to the side that way. Or same thing, I can just put a piece of wax paper, hot glue so I don't burn myself, and stick my hand up here and just tack it to the walls, because clearly I can't get this up there or anything like that. So that's the idea I have for tacking it. There goes my stone. But anyways, I'll do all that at one time. But that's our chandelier, and that can live in there. So let's tack up the rest of the stuff that will live more permanently in here. So we have our double, which is our next kind of toughest one, and he's going to live inside this hut. So I'm going to go in through the hole in this hut, which I have created right there. So I'm going to just, I think it's easier to fish it from the outside and fish it through. And maybe I won't need the wax paper, but there's our doubles. And all I'm gonna do is put a little bit of glue to secure it. But first, let me see if I can get these guys a little bit to play nice. You go on that side and you go on that side. There. Ooh, I might have to wax paper this too, guys. Look, I cannot get in there. I cannot get in there. So maybe Dave Beck is saying, ooh, Frozen Mustache has an idea. White duct tape. Yeah, because that'll add more insulation too from that main high voltage wire too. So that's an idea. And then Dave Beck are saying the windows will bend to the window shape with the heat gun. Ooh, that's true. Then create the frosting. If you heat gun the plastic after the frosting, the window clears up. That's true. That's true. So we'll have to make the shape first and then frost it up. Yes. All right. So I think what I can do is, while holding this in place, I think I can dab glue in there, and it doesn't want to focus. But yes, so I'm pushing the LEDs towards the top of the hole, and I'm going to try and dab glue while holding. And I might just let the glue just fall. You know what? It reaches. It reaches. Yeah, so at the top of the hole, it reaches. So all I'm doing is just holding this in place until that big glopola there starts to cure a little bit. And then Dave Beck is saying, can you drip the hot glue onto the LEDs? Yes, so you can definitely do that and glue the LED head right on. But that's actually how you create fire effects. You, almost like a frozen yogurt. So if you have like an LED, this is my LED head right here, and like a frozen yogurt, you just make a spiraling, and you make a couple spiralings and let the wisps kind of do their thing. That's how you get some very cool fire effects using hot glue. And then the LED will just glow. Did this not glue? Let me bend this. There we go. Oh, I just hit the mic. You guys got a bump. There we go. I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it, people. Because, oh, I know what's going on. Because the wire wants to bend this way. There we go. Now it'll go. I know you guys can't see this. I'm gonna put it kind of... My arm does not bend that way. There we go. I just doubled a whole bunch. So I'm just gonna hold it and you guys can see that it is curing. It's still a little too shiny, so I'm not gonna let go. And Gearhead Diva, Subjective Project Proctologist. Yes, that is my new title. I'm going to actually make a name tag. And on Monday, people will be wondering, like, what the heck happened on Thursday? There we go. Can I move it? Oh, yeah. Okay. It's almost. I probably should have made the holes a little bit smaller. There we go. I'll come back to you if I have to. And then we have this little guy, and you can see his hole right there. So he's going to be way easier. And I think, let's see, which one is him? He's going to be the one that is longer. So it's him. They're both the same size, so works for me. Actually, I'm going to put these wires in here, and then I'm just going to bend these like that, so that way it goes down the pipe a little bit easier. There we go. The odd positions I do so you guys can see what's going on. All right, so let's just let him sit there. You can see my hands covered in the PVC dust. Just from that little drilling. There we go. It likes to sit on the bottom of the hole. And yes, I went to all out with these LED holes. I don't know what I was thinking. What are we going to do? Put 100 LEDs up in this little hut? It kind of looks like that was the original plan by the size of these holes. All right, I'm going to let that cure. And then all we have is this window. Right there. So let's see how we can do this window. This one I may have to hot glue to the edge. The edge of glory. All right. This one I might have to glue to the side. Yep. Because he is going to have a frosty window, but it's not like the huts where he can kind of like come out of the window. He's got to stay in. So there's no way to get the hot glue gun down there in an easy fashion. So I'm going to use my wax paper idea and see if I can, you know, just dab and hold the glue until it dries on there and then rip the wax paper away. I think that's like the best way I can think of doing it. But I think we have all the big things wired up. And then one last test we'll do before the final wiring is I will have this whole thing converted down to a small PCB so we can get, you know, that all tucked away and in. Then we are going to wire up that high voltage power line. And while this is still all accessible, we're going to do one more tuning to the bigger light bulb to make sure we get a ton of streamers. But that's after we finish the dragon and after we finish, you know, the wizard battle and all that. That's kind of like the final. This I just wanted to get done and out of the way such that I can go ahead and get this glued in after I do the windows, and then I can start stoning everything in preparation for the dragon next week. So yes, if you guys want to see any stonework, do check out the Frankenstein Castle foam miniature we did. We did foam core stone. We did, you know, this insulation foam stone, how to paint it, how to prep it, all that stuff. But guys, this is looking pretty good. I can finally finish the little roofs on these huts, get the windows in, and then we can start our great battle. So thanks guys for joining me on a Thursday night. Gives me a little more time to kind of move these things along for our you know, Wrench Army streams. And as always, I super appreciate all of your support because we can do such cool projects. And really, truly, I look forward to these nights, Mondays, and especially our Thursday nights, which was Wednesday nights, every single week, because I just love talking to you guys and having so much fun with you guys and just kind of like taking all of your experiences and tips and advice and, you know, kind of putting it in my pocket, you know, so when I continue this on my own, I make sure to include it all. And Program is saying, cool stream, glad to have caught y'all. And Frozen Mustache, thanks for the screen later. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, guys. Catch y'all later. Have a magical weekend, I should say. See ya.